Live from iRacing's virtual Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas, welcome sim racing fans to the elimination race of the Sweet 16 round of the North American Sim Racing Association Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs, the Sunflower 200, live on Racecraft TV. We're happy that all of you are joining us for the third and final race of the Sweet 16 round of the playoffs for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series season. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Jordan Hicks. All track and car cameras tonight were created by Istvan Ballo at trackcams22.com. So Jordan, we enter into one of the final races of the season. That calendar is becoming very dark as we only have 4 races left on the calendar: Kansas, Nashville Superspeedway, Richmond, and Charlotte. This one here at Kansas is very, very interesting because we are going to cut the 16 drivers that we entered the playoffs with and turn them into 8 as we go racing for the remainder of the calendar.
And Josh, I'm super excited to get this one started tonight because you got to be really careful on how you take on these corners, because 3 and 4 can be completely different than 1 and 2 because of that backstretch and that wall. So you kind of got to be really careful on how you approach your corners and really make your exit consistent and really stay on your A game the whole night.
And yet another intermediate that we're going to have on the calendar. Of course, we had the Atlanta Motor Speedway just a couple of weeks ago. Last time that the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series was here on Racecraft TV was at Atlanta. Devin Painter got the win there. Jacob Klinkart in the broadcast that was not here on Racecraft TV from 1 week ago won the race at Daytona. That was Jacob Klinkart in the 42 with the win. So as we continue on to the final race of the Sweet 16 round, we go back to another intermediate. And the way this championship works, no driver is safe until they are completely safe on points. The only driver who mathematically does not have an opportunity to make it into the next round of the playoffs is nobody. The only driver who is completely locked in to the next round of the championship is nobody. So nobody is safe as we get ready to go racing in the final race of the Sweet 16. Now let's see exactly where we are. It's at the Kansas Speedway. This track, Jordan, in iRacing has been known for so long as one of the first tracks to have multi-groove racing. You can race from the bottom to the top. Any lane works. And this track, unlike a couple of the intermediates that we have been to this season, specifically Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago, doesn't really chew up those tires as much.
And, you know, definitely a lot of speed can come from this track. So I'm really looking forward to it because we know these drivers are really ready to let their hands fly and get on this racetrack and really fight to get to that Elite 8. And so I'm looking forward to see who's going to walk away victorious here tonight.
And for viewers who have been tuning in over the last couple of weeks here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series and watch the races at Chicagoland and at Atlanta, third intermediate in a row that we are broadcasting here on Racecraft TV. Exactly the same on the race analysis as it was for the Atlanta Motor Speedway. A 30-lap first stage, a 60-lap second stage with 134 laps in the completing the total amount of laps that we will complete tonight. 4 sets of tires will be in the pit lane for these drivers, and 100% fuel these drivers will be allowed to put in their fuel tanks, and that adds up to roughly about 50 to 55 laps on the fuel window. The drivers will have to pit before the end of stage number 2. We're expecting them to pit end of stage 1, end of stage 2, and about midway through that final stage. That seems to be the strategy that has worked out the best for a lot of the drivers this season. So we'll see who is going to elect to go for a wild card strategy, or if everybody is going to be just about on the same page when it comes to the strategy tonight. But about 35 seconds remaining here in qualifying, and right now, Jordan, I don't think it's a shock to really anybody to see who's at the top of the speed charts right now. Stephen Thomas, he leads the points, but he is not locked in yet. He will have to wait to the checkered flag tonight to see if he will fight for the championship and continue that journey in the Elite 8.
And, you know, you said earlier, this is anybody's game, so wherever you place, you better make sure you're really consistent tonight, because you don't want to be left out and not advance to the next round. So you kind of got to be careful, play your cards right, and really try and keep yourself up into that top pack to make sure you can lock yourself into that Elite 8.
Nobody is safe. There are a couple of drivers who are better off than the last, but in the grand scheme of things, everybody in this field can be eliminated from the playoffs tonight. Time to take a look at the starting grid here for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the Sunflower 200 from iRacing's Virtual Kansas Speedway, and it's Stephen Thomas who walks away with the pole position. It's Brady LaBeouf in second place to his outside. Kyle Hess, Keith Bradley, Michael McKinnon the top 5, with Adam Newbert rounding out your top 6. Looking back from there on the starting grid, Jose Luis Rivera and Blake Lothian on row 4, Chris Cinnamon, Logan Quinn, the top 10. Joey Doucette, Stephen Gregory, top 12. Further back from there, it's Jeffrey Sickles with Robbie Richards to his outside. Devin Painter, winner from Atlanta, a little bit slower here in qualifying. He'll qualify in P15. With Taylor Peacock qualifying P16. Jacob Klinkart, Rollo Meza rounding out the top 18. And going back down the rest of the order, it is Dana Shepard, Dan Hagan, Cody Knott, Steve Williams, Eric Zimmerman in 23rd. Round out the amount of drivers who elected to take time in qualifying. And back from there, looking at the rest of the grid, Brandon Bullock, Mikey Williams, the final 2 drivers on the grid, who both did not elect to take to the track for qualifying tonight. We'll see what they can do from the tail end of the field. Let's take a look at our current iRacing weather conditions, and relatively hot night here in Kansas, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, but a 79 degree track temp. Jordan, Kansas usually has a good amount of grip, especially if you're running up by that wall. Definitely going to get a little bit of extra help in the grip department tonight with that 79 degree track temp.
And I feel like if you run the right line, you're going to be that fastest driver on the track. So you got to make sure you're in the right position at the right time. Really make sure if you're going to go and pass somebody, you got enough time to, if you don't make it, you have enough time to really stay in line with everybody else. So you just got to stay on your A game and really just hope you run the right line and make out where you want to be at the end of the race.
It is a really interesting thing to talk about. Of course, we always talk about that at restrictor plate tracks, but I feel like here at Kansas, it almost acts like a restrictor plate track where you want to be on that outside line, and especially on the early portions of a lot of these runs, it'll really stack up on that outside line, and drivers are going to be fighting for a place to be up on that line. But we'll see how quickly any of the other lines start to develop. The middle line can be used. We've seen the bottom line be used plenty, of course, in qualifying as well. We'll see how it'll do for the tires tonight. 30-lap opening stage as the field will pace their way down the back straightaway here in virtual Kansas and get ready to take the green flag. That iRacing pace truck will pull into the pit lane. At the checkered flag of this race, we are going to find out who the 8 drivers who will compete in the next round of the playoffs will be. The Nashville Superspeedway and the Richmond Raceway rain overhead, but now we go racing at the final intermediate track of the season before the season finale at Charlotte, and ready to go racing. Stephen Thomas leads them down, and we say let's go racing from virtual Kansas. And just like that, Stephen Thomas remains out in front of the field, leads lap number 1, and is looking to lead a lot more as the 23 currently out in front, side by side for second. That's Kyle Hess on the outside. Brady LaBeouf looking to the inside. Keith Bradley, Michael McKinnon back from there, and you can see now LaBeouf falling to Kyle Hess, and now up all the way against the wall is going to be the 13 of Michael McKinnon. Bounces off of it for a moment, now going to be under the clutches of Adam Newbert, who tries to work his way down to the inside. Jordan, if anybody is really in a must-win situation, not to lock himself in, but to get himself even somewhat in contention, it's Michael McKinnon, 60 points back from the current leader, Stephen Thomas. It's a little bit of a different story to the cut line. He's only about 20 back from the cut line, but a win tonight is definitely going to help him out.
And we always see Michael McKinnon really battling out to try and get up to that top pack to try and walk away with a win, but that is a lot of pressure, especially when you're 60 points back. You just want to really have a solid night, but there's so many things that could potentially hurt you in that situation, so you really got to keep it clean, run your own race, and really hope for everyone to not wreck in sort of front of you or make any mistake, because you don't want to get caught up in a wreck, but if a door opens, you might as well take it.
And still battling up in front. You can see the two drivers who have been some of the most dominant on intermediates this season about to go head-to-head, Stephen Thomas and Kyle Hess. Weird to say Stephen Thomas only with one win on the season. He has been so consistent and so dominant in every single race this season, has run away at the top of the point standings and is looking for the championship here. And he currently sits out in front, a considerable margin out in front at that, as we look up the back of the number 23 of Stephen Thomas. And he tries to keep Kyle Hess at bay and is going to do a relatively good job of that so far. The gap only about 0.2 separating those two. If you notice on our timing tower and on our horizontal scoring at the top of your screen, any driver highlighted in yellow is going to be one of the drivers in the playoffs. And Eric Zimmerman very loose on the back straightaway. It looks like he came down into the pit lane, wondering if he might have left on some tape from qualifying and had to bring it down into the pit lane. Only about a 4.5 second time in the pit box, so it was a very short. Don't think he used up one of those sets of tires with that pit box time. So looks like he just came in for maybe damage repair or maybe just getting more tape off of that grill after leaving it at 100% for qualifying. He's going to already go one lap down as they go 3 wide here for a moment. Looking up the inside, that's Jose Luis Rivera going side by side with Blake Lothian as they work their way off of turn number 4. The field already starting to bunch their way up, but about for the lead starting to develop. Jordan Kyle Hess trying to go for it. We've seen Hess this season be one of the most aggressive drivers, but he has not gotten a win since the Bristol Dirt Track in round number 4 of the campaign at the beginning of August. He is hungry for another win. He's been on a dry spell since.
And you can see they're both running the opposite lines, and so it's going to be interesting to see what line is going to work out later on in this race. It'll most likely, I believe, be that outside line, because how much speed you can get off, especially turn 4, and you can just see the 86 just running on the bumper of the 23 machine. So Josh, if the 86 wants it, all he's got to do really is just stay up on that high line, hope that his tires don't really get chewed up a lot, and he can potentially take over that lead from the 23.
The battle for first definitely is starting to heat up as we're already going to be somewhat of about a third through stage number 1. And of course, points will be awarded to the top 10 at the end of the stage. So that is something else to add to the playoff picture. And we will have the final 8 drivers that will compete in the Elite 8 when we go live in 1 week's time. Of course, it will take a little bit for all the points to be finalized, so we don't want to make any brash calls here on the broadcast, so we'll leave that to the NASRA admins, and they'll get the final points out, and we'll have the Elite 8 updated for you in 1 week's time when we go racing for the first time in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series from the Nashville Super Speedway, and I believe the first broadcast from the Nashville Super Speedway that we will have here on Racecraft TV. Battle for second has gone into a different way as Hess has fallen back a slight bit. Now here comes the 9 of Brady LaBeouf trying to take a peek down to the inside, running the inside line. Hess electing to run the outside, but nobody spreading out too far yet, as I believe that's a bit of a byproduct, Jordan, of the fact that the tires don't really wear as much here at Kansas. I mean, we were talking about over a second loss at Atlanta after 11 laps, and we're only talking about 4/10 or 3/10 in some cases lost. In some cases, I'm looking at 2/10 lost here on the tire wear at Kansas. So they're able to stay bunched up a lot easier. We're just gonna make passing a lot easier throughout these runs, especially in the short sprint stages that we have to start this race.
And even going into those full sprints, like that third stage, the drivers are just going to be able to really run their trucks normally. So like, they're not really going to have to worry about a lot of that tire wear, because like you said, it's about 2 to 4 tenths that they lose, other than Atlanta where you lose a second. So there's a big difference between the two, and so these drivers are really just going to run their race normally and just full throttle to that checkered finish line, and whoever comes out on top is going to be that winner for tonight and possibly going to that Elite 8.
And nearing in on halfway done with this stage, take a look at the front runners here at Kansas. The top about 7, separated by less than 1 second right now. Brady LaBeouf trying to knock on the door of Stephen Thomas and take away that top spot. But take a look at Adam Newbert. He's going to have something to say about it as he races down to the inside, side by side for P2. And Newbert's going to power around and get by Brady LaBeouf. Take a look at the 6. Hasn't had the best runnings this season when we've seen him here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, but what a run tonight as he goes up and into P2. He's looking for win number 1 of the season for him. We'll see if he can get it. Caution flag is going to fly. Who is involved in this incident? Believe it was Eric Zimmerman. Yes, it was. He is slow on the front straightaway. And halfway through stage number 1, that is going to bring us into caution number 1 of the night. And let's see what happened. We'll have to wait about a lap here to see exactly what happened, but it looked like the 94 of Eric Zimmerman coming off of turn 4 made contact with, I believe, the 24 of Steve Williams, who sat behind him. We'll see as they work their way off of turn number 4. Going through 3 and 4 here. And he just lost it. Made a little bit of contact and off it into the grass for the 94 of Eric Zimmerman. Unfortunate for him, he has had some of the worst luck this season. And unfortunately, that bad luck just continues now here from virtual Kansas. Pit road open for the first time this race. Who's going to elect to use it? Nobody at the front does, but I believe might have had a couple stragglers work their way in. It looks like Kyle Hess is going to elect to work his way into the pit stall. Very, very interesting from the 86, wondering what strategy this is from the 86 of Hess, and if he's going to take fuel only here, maybe try and stretch all the way to the end of stage number 2, or this is going to be a tire stop. No, it is going to be a tire stop. So this is interesting, Jordan. He's going to use one of his 4 tire sets pretty early on in this race before we even go into the stage 1 break.
This is really interesting because you usually see everybody come down pit road at the end of stage number 1, but now I'm curious to know, what is he going to do for the beginning of stage number 2? Is he going to take his other set of tires? Because we've talked about it already. The tires don't get chewed up as much as they would normally do at any other track here tonight at Kansas. So he's definitely got a plan in his head that he's going to try and stick to, Josh, but only time will tell. And I'm really curious to know what the 86 of Kyle Hess is really going to do, and will it help him potentially down the road at the end of this race?
Wondering if it will, because he still has 3 sets of tires remaining in the pit lane. So let's say in theory he takes one in stage 1, then takes one end of stage 2, then takes one in his green flag stop in the middle of the way through that stage. Then he uses up all of his tires, and he will not have a tire set left if we end up going into overtime, which we saw overtime at Atlanta 2 weeks ago. I think one of the most wild overtimes that you and me both, Jordan, have seen in a long time here on the iRacing service. But we won't have those extra tires to then put on if he needs fresh tires for a late restart. And we know Kyle Hess, of course, is not in the playoff picture. He is not racing for playoff points. He is only out here racing part-time, not racing for points. He is not going for a championship, so he can make a little bit more of those brash moves and not really be at a risk for losing points or being eliminated from the playoffs. So I definitely think Kyle S is going on a bit of an out there strategy, but I don't think it's going to hurt him in the long run, especially if we don't get overtime. He's going to be on about the same strategy as everybody else, and he's going to be able to make up a lot of positions at the end, or at this restart at the end of this stage, Jordan, with those fresh tires going from 17th. We'll see how far he can make it up.
It's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see how he's going to make things work, because he's got a plan, he's going to stick to it, and he's going to run his race, and whatever happens, happens. You never know, Josh. He could come all the way from where he is now, and I believe he's in 17th, like you said. And so I'm curious to know how fast he might make some moves here and try and get himself back up to where he was, but anything can happen, and the drop of that green flag for the next restart is going to be interesting to see where he's going to get to from where he is right now.
Field back to 2x2. We'll go racing with 11 laps to go here in stage number 1. Early caution here of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, but we're glad all of you could join us here on Racecraft TV tonight. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth, Jordan Hicks alongside me. And we will bring you coverage all the way to the championship here of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. The journey to the championship, of course, continues after this tonight when we go to the Nashville Super Speedway in 1 week's time, then to the Richmond Raceway for the Elite 8 Elimination Race, and then the Championship 4, and we crown a champion at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Pace truck back down and into the safety of the pit lane, ready to go back green as we go racing with 11 laps to go here in stage number 1. And it's Stephen Thomas who leads the way. Look at Brady LaBeouf trying to make something happen down to the inside of the 6 of Adam Newbert. They'll go side by side for a moment. Keith Bradley going to point that nose to the inside of the 97 of Jose Luis Rivera as well. They'll have a side by side moment as they race down the super stretch. Here comes Chris Cinnamon. He's going to get himself into the mix for the first time tonight. We haven't seen much of that 3 machine. Here he comes to try and fight for the race lead and try and fight for the win of stage number 3. Here's the battle for the lead as Adam Newbert goes to the inside. Stephen Thomas up on the outside line. Can he hold him off? Look at the run from Newbert to the inside. Look at the 3-wide run to the outside for Chris Cinnamon in turns 1 and 2. Side by side for Bradley Rivera. They touch once going into turn 3. Neither of them end up in an incident, Jordan, but man, that was close. They both bounced off of each other on the back straightaway.
So many moves in just a short amount of seconds. We saw Newbert take over that lead, and the 18 make contact with the 90, with the 3 actually, I believe. But you can take a look right here because the 97 is falling back a little bit to get side by side with the 18. And then they go onto the backstretch, and like you said, Josh, they make contact right there. Luckily, everybody keeps it safe and straight, and so they're going to keep running their race, and a lot of action is happening right now from Kansas.
Adam Newbert up to the lead. What a run for him. He's looking for stage number 1 win and his first stage win of the season, and I believe of his career here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. What a great run from the 6 so far. What can Stephen Thomas say about it? We know he's been the most dominant truck of this season, and he is going to go straight up for the battle for the lead with Adam Newbert. 1/10 separating these 2 drivers up here at the front. And it's going to continue to separate them as off the corner. Thomas not going to have anything for the 6 just yet. He'll have to stay in P2. Here comes Brady LaBeouf trying to work his way closer up to the front. We've been talking about drivers who have been strong on intermediates this season, Jordan, and Brady LaBeouf has been one of the stronger trucks on intermediates. He got a win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, his first career win in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, and of course Las Vegas Motor Speedway, an intermediate track. I think we're selling Brady LaBeouf short if we don't at least talk about him tonight being one of the favorites here from Kansas, which I think out of the intermediates that we're going to go to on this calendar and on the iRacing service is the most like the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And I won't be surprised if Josh, we watch him get another win, because right now he's running up in P number 3, so he's really not letting those leaders get away from him, and he's trying to keep that 9 machine right on the back bumper of the 23 to make sure if anything happens, if any door opens, he's there and is ready to take over any spot that is in front of him.
LaBeouf gonna make a move to the outside here, opens the door for Taylor Peacock down the inside, and that's gonna put Peacock up and into P number 3 for the moment. Adam Newbert still holds the lead. Look at the run from Peacock to the outside. He's gonna try and make a move on Stephen Thomas. 23 on the inside, a little bit of connection issues for that Toyota Tundra on the inside line, and Taylor Peacock going to take advantage of that and take advantage of the great run through the middle line in turns 3 and 4. Battle for the lead gonna go to Taylor Peacock. The winner from the Martinsville Speedway is now at the front here at Kansas with 4 laps remaining here in the stage. Jordan, Stephen Thomas definitely not done, but the caution flag is going to bring out the end of the stage. And it looks like Devin Painter stopped on the front straightaway. We heard from race control this will be the end of the stage, Jordan. Let's take a look at this replay. What happened for the 64 at Devin Painter?
You can see him coming off of turn 4 and just completely locks it up. So not sure if that was a hardware issue on his end or anything that happened in the sim, but definitely really interesting for Devin Painter, as that's going to bring out the caution. So I'm curious to know what exactly happened to him.
Take a look as he goes through turns 3 and 4. Can just see it on the replay. The wheel takes a hard turn to the right here. Hard to the right in both gas and brake at the same time. That is definitely hardware. So it looks to me like that wheel just quit working at the absolute worst time for Devin Painter. And what is this going to do for him in the playoffs? He comes in 91 points in this round and comes in about 25 points good to the cut line. We'll have to see if that's going to be enough to secure him a spot in the next round. But as drivers hit the pit lane, everybody works their way in at the front. 2 drivers stay out. Looks like Taylor Peacock and Brandon Bullock, both of them were able to bring their trucks down and into the pit lane under the yellow flag in the middle of stage number 1, so they have elected to stay out here under the stage break. And let's see who is going to win the race off of the pit road. And winning it will be the 23 of Stephen Thomas. So he will start in P3 when we go back to racing. Taylor Peacock, however, if he does not come down the pit lane under this stage break, will be leading us to the green flag. We'll take a short break here on Racecraft TV as stage number 1 comes to a close. Taylor Peacock wins the stage. We'll be right back for stage number 2 of action here from virtual Kansas in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Welcome back to live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Field back to 2x2, and we are ready to send them back to the green flag. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth. Alongside me is Jordan Hicks. Pace truck down and away. We're going racing for 29 laps here in stage number 2. It ends at lap number 60. We are back underway here from virtual Kansas, and they send it back down into turn number 1. Taylor Peacock out and away with the current race lead, looking to hold on to it as Stephen Thomas and Brandon Bullock have a side-by-side moment behind them. Brady LaBeouf going to join that fray. Here comes Adam Newbert into the conversation as well. Where did Brandon Bullock come from? He stayed out under that last yellow flag for the stage 1 break. Now finds himself at the front of the field, but looks like his worn tires not going to do him much good. Jordan, it looks like the worn tires on the 81 of Taylor Peacock also not going to do him much good, as here comes the 23 of Stephen Thomas to challenge.
Thomas trying to take back his lead that he lost previously on in this race, and so he's definitely doing a good job staying behind the 81. Josh, he's really running on the bumper of that 81, and he's trying to look to the inside to make a pass for that P1 position.
Takes a peek to the inside. Is it going to work out? And yes, it will. To the lead goes the 23 of Stephen Thomas. A great run for the 23 tonight. Another one of those dominant Stephen Thomas races that we have seen so many times this season. He's looking to continue that tonight. How about Chris Cinnamon up here in the top 5 for the first time tonight? Started back in P9 and is looking to continue that climb up through the field. Blake Lothian, the winner of one of the dominant trucks, I should say, of the opening round of the campaign at Texas. Another one of those drivers we need to watch out for on an intermediate. Lothian still winless this season as they dive it back into turns 1 and 2. Newbert with a great run through the middle as a little bit of a loose moment, but I think what we're seeing by this, Jordan, is especially with everybody on fresh tires, Stephen Thomas can be beat. Here comes the 6 back down to the inside. Chris Cinnamon goes all the way up by the wall.
Newbert trying to run the inside line to take over P1 from Stephen Thomas, and Josh Newbert is just getting the runs of a lifetime against the 23 right now, because he's just making that 6 machine stick to that bottom line and really just be able to full throttle that 6 all the way through the turn. And you can see Newbert just powering through to P number 1, and Chris Cinnamon is going to follow him down on the inside. So the 23 of Stephen Thomas is going to be left alone on the outside. So this may drop Thomas down a little bit, so he might has to fight a little bit more to get back up into the top 5.
Mr. Where did he come from? Shades of Kevin Harvick for Chris Cinnamon. The run to the inside. He's going to go battling for this lead at the moment. And where we're currently at in the season, of course, very, very late in the season, 4 rounds left, but Chris Cinnamon still winless this season. Adam Newbert also winless. LaBeouf and Stephen Thomas with 1 win. Running out the top 5, Jose Luis Rivera. He is winless this season as well. We have not had a back-to-back repeat winner since Keith Bradley did it at the Daytona Road Course and then Pocono. Bristol, Vegas, Dega, Martinsville, Phoenix, Chicago, Atlanta, and Daytona, all unique winners per week. We have not had any driver go back-to-back since Keith Bradley done it, and he is still the only driver to have done it this season. 2 back-to-back first-time winners in Devin Painter and Jacob Klinkart set up tonight's race here at Kansas. Keith Bradley was able to walk away with his 3rd win of the season at Chicagoland, so he won right before the playoffs begun. Dustin Scruggs not in this race tonight. 2 wins on the season for him. And then Kyle Hess and Robbie Richards both with 2 wins as well. So Keith Bradley, the winningest driver of the season so far, Jordan, but definitely not where he wants to be in this race, currently 13th. And you can see he started up in P4, so being in P13, don't think that's exactly where he wants to be right now, but still a lot of time to make up that ground as we have about 95 laps to go.
Definitely a little frustrating for that 18 machine and team. So, but Josh, I really think he can fight his way back up into that top 10, because we've seen some great races from the 18 of Keith Bradley, so I know he can do it. You just got to make sure nobody's in his way and he gets the runs that he needs to really make those passes really work for him, and so he's not alone. And he's also got to have enough people behind him so he can have a draft too, so he can even just have even more power on that draft to really get up into the spots he wants and just be comfortable throughout the rest of this race.
And trying to stay comfortable at the front as well is Chris Cinnamon, who had the lead. Now here comes Brady LaBeouf right back down to the inside. New leader, the 9 of Brady LaBeouf. A great run tonight for the 9 as well. We are seeing so many different passes for the lead right now at the front, and hoping this continues its way through all night long. This is some great racing at the front. LaBeouf gonna go side by side with the 3. Uses a bit of side draft to try and complete that pass once again. A great run on the outside line out of these corners. Out of turn 4, out of turn 2, Chris Cinnamon gets a great run using the wall. And he arches that truck down across the apron, and a great move back to the race lead for Chris Cinnamon. LaBeouf's not done, but neither is Steven Thomas. He goes all the way down to the bottom, trying to make it a 3-horse fight at the front, but Cinnamon going to be able to clear them both, and side by side remaining for second goes Brady LaBeouf and Steven Thomas. A great side-by-side run for both of those drivers, and now they'll settle it back out to 1 wide, but here comes Adam Newbert back to the bottom of the racetrack to fight back for the race lead. Everybody up here at the front. You can go all the way down to P11 in this group, separated by less than 2 seconds right now. Nobody really losing a ton of time to their tires. Only about 7/10 lost over about 13 or 14 laps that these drivers have put on these tires. 16 to go. Next time by. And battle for the lead has gone back over to Steven Thomas here, Jordan, for a moment, but Thomas still trying to fight back on that inside. Cinnamon is doing an amazing job running the outside line, but we've seen Chris Cinnamon have dominant races before, has been able to put it together and get that truck into victory lane. He has an opportunity to do it here and beat one of the most dominant drivers of the season, but the long run pace from the 23 of Steven Thomas is starting to shine.
And I do feel like we see Chris Cinnamon in at least the top 5 or at least top 10 every single week, because he's so consistent with his racing, and so he's trying to make the line work for him that he's running, which is the outside line, which what I've noticed throughout this whole race, Josh, they're both equal, and you can see the crossover trying to dive to the inside of Steven Thomas to try and change things up, and you can see he's still powering through to P1 no matter what line he's in. So he's having a great race so far tonight. He's just got to keep this momentum up, and Josh, he can walk away with the stage 2 victory.
Trying to walk away with that victory, and I would be, I believe, not his first win in a stage this season. I believe he got a stage win some other track on the calendar, but he's looking for just more success. And of course, with the 3 of Chris Cinnamon also being in the playoffs, this will help him immensely for that as well. He comes in below the cut line, so a great run from him tonight at Kansas. Even if he can't advance into the next round of the playoffs, just a dominant run to end out the championship hopes is all any of these drivers can really ask for at the end of the day if they're not going to advance into the next round of the playoffs. Field getting a little bit single file as Cinnamon makes a move back to the outside. Here comes Adam Newbert trying to make a move down on the inside once again. And he currently sits in P3. Trying to look to the inside of the 3 of Chris Cinnamon and see if he is able to make anything happen down there. Just doesn't look like that inside line is really working too well for anybody right now, especially as those tires continue to wear their way in. And everybody is starting to spread themselves out as well. Cinnamon goes back to the outside line, able to get a good run off of the corner, but just cannot arch that truck and get the run that he was getting at the beginning of this race, and at the beginning of this run, I should say, to get up and into the lead. But Stephen Thomas at the front, once he gets up there, Jordan, he just knows how to command the race. But Cinnamon's giving him a run for his money. Here he comes once again. The 3's going to try and go for another challenge as he goes to the outside line.
And what I've noticed is the 3 seems to be a little slower on his corners, and then faster on the straightaways. So all the 3's got to do is really try and work up his corners and make him a little bit faster. And Josh, he's going to be right up to the back bumper of the 23, even in those corners, so it'll be a little easier for passing. But with being on that outside line, it gives you so much power to be able to go around so many people when you are on that outside line. So he's just trying to make that outside line work. But P2 right now for the 3 of Chris Cinnamon is definitely a great place to be, especially in stage number 2 halfway through this race.
9 laps to go through the middle of stage number 2. Of course, still have the long stage number 3 that will go through at the end of this race. And we'll race to lap number 134 tonight and have the checkered flag there. Continuing in the front, it's Stephen Thomas. A little bit of a small battle further back as Jose Luis Rivera tries to catch up to Blake Lothian in front of him. We can go all the way back to P18. Side-by-side moment between Dane Hagen and Brandon Bullock. Man, how far Brandon Bullock fell. We weren't talking too much about tire wear. Not as big here at Kansas as it is at Atlanta or at Chicagoland or at Texas, but it still can wreak havoc. And Brandon Bullock, who is on 37 lap bowl tires, and Taylor Peacock, who is on 36 lap bowl tires, compared to everybody else being on 24 lap bowl tires. Peacock and Bullock currently sit 17th and 19th on the racetrack respectively. So both of them, even with the tires not being such a huge deal as it is at other racetracks here at Kansas, you can still see just how detrimental worn tires can be. The drivers up front doing a good job at conserving those tires. Only lost about a second average right now on the racetrack for everybody for about the last 24 laps, so great to see from a lot of these drivers managing those tires well as we have 6 to go here in the second stage of the night. And Jordan Cinnamon's getting close, running the outside line. Big question is he gonna make any brash moves and try and walk away with a stage victory? Are we gonna see another Stephen Thomas stage victory this season, walk away with more points towards the Elite 8 round of the playoffs?
He's just got to be a little careful, because you don't want to get a little too overconfident in yourself and potentially not wreck yourself, but mess yourself up to a point where you fall back a little bit. So the 3 is just trying to run his own line right now, I believe. And he's just trying to make the 23 on edge for the next few laps. We are green to the end of this stage. So if I was the 3, I would keep doing what I'm doing. And hey, if the door opens, I'm going to go for that spot. And that's what the 3 is possibly waiting for.
And you can see how close Cinnamon is getting. He's getting very close off the exit of these corners and just not able to get that move made. And he goes back up to the outside line to try and fight again. And we'll see if anything happens there, but Cinnamon can just get so close. He just cannot get that pass made, and it goes to show how good Stephen Thomas is at defense. He can really defend well, and you can see him just goes right up, doesn't even need to get much into the line of the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, but he's able to block that run. Cinnamon goes back to the outside. They go side by side as they enter the corner. Now will Cinnamon get enough of a run to stay side by side as they exit the corner? No, he won't. Does he go for the crossover? Yes, he does. To the inside goes Chris Cinnamon. Connection issues for the 3. He comes back and comes back in the race lead. Chris Cinnamon back to the front. 2 to go in the stage this time by. Almost makes contact with the outside wall, but he leads the way with 2 to go here in the stage. What can Stephen Thomas do, Jordan? He works his way back to the inside.
Trying to make that inside line work and power around the 3. But Josh, they're side by side going on the backstretch right now. And only about not even a tenth separates the 2. So if the 23 really wants this stage victory, he's going to have to push that 23 machine down to the bottom line as fast as it can go and potentially try and take that lead. But the 3 right now is really running the line that is so fast. I don't think Stephen Thomas is going to have enough time to really fight for that spot.
Final lap of stage number 2. Is it going to be Chris Cinnamon who walks away with the stage victory? Powers down the back straightaway. Looking for more success this season. The 3 of Chris Cinnamon winless so far in this season of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. It might not be a race win, but it is a start. As he walks away with the stage 2 victory, Chris Cinnamon in the 3 wins stage number 2 from virtual Kansas. And the yellow flag comes out for the stage 2 break. Expecting just about everybody in this field to work their way into the pit lane here and get 4 fresh Goodyear tires put on. An update on the alternate strategy that we saw from Kyle Hess. Not much of a strategy anymore. He pitted under that stage break, so he is the only driver left with 2 sets of tires remaining. Chris Cinnamon and everybody who pitted under the stage number 1 break and has not pitted since or before has 3 sets of tires remaining for them in the pit lane. And then the only drivers, and that is everybody else actually. So everybody is on 3 sets of tires remaining in the pit lane except for Kyle Hess, who has 2, and that is it. So everybody still has a good amount of tires left except for 1 driver. We'll see how many drivers elect to use those fresh sets of tires, and with 33 laps on everybody's tires, 46 laps in the case of Brandon Bullock and Taylor Peacock, expecting everybody to work their way into the pit lane here. And just as they reach that pit lane entry, here comes everybody into the pit lane. Chris Cinnamon leads them down. Keith Bradley with a bit of cone destruction in the background as everybody works their way single file down and into the pit lane. Big question here is anybody going to go for any strategy, or will it be solid 4 tires throughout the field? It looks like it is going to be 4 tires and Sunoco fuel through the field. Now the big question is who's going to work their way out of the pit lane first. Jacks go up on the opposite side. They slam down. Who's out first? It'll be the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, I believe, by inches. And yes, it is. Chris Cinnamon wins the race off pit road. And he is going to lead the field back to the green flag here for stage number 3. One more stage of action remains here from the virtual Kansas Motor Speedway. We're coming back with more coverage here of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series when we return. You're tuning into the Sunflower 200 and the elimination race for the Sweet 16 round of the playoffs on Racecraft TV.
Welcome to Hickory on a beautiful 80-degree Easter Saturday. Mike.
Welcome back to live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Super happy that all of you are joining us here as we get ready for stage number 3 tonight. Joshua Lee, Jordan Hicks back with you here in the booth, ready for the green flag here in stage number 3. We'll let you hear the sights and sounds here at the Kansas Speedway as we go Racecraft TV Sounds of Speed in the elimination round. Three-wide moment for the race lead. Blake Lothian on the inside, Adam Newbert on the outside. Newbert going to cover off that spot over the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, but everybody's stacking up behind as they all continue to race through. Top 2 right now are not playoff drivers. Cinnamon, Thomas, and Richards rounding out the top 5, and you can go back through all the way to Logan Quinn, or actually all the way through to Jacob Klinkart to find the final driver who is not in the playoffs at the front of this field. Side by side once again as Lothian makes a run to the bottom, trying to get by Adam Newbert for that race lead. Can he do it? And he will be able to clear him by about a half truck length as they race down the back straightaway. New leader, the 59 of Blake Lothian. Newbert's not done. Goes for a crossover. The challenge comes in on that inside line. But here comes Chris Cinnamon. Another run to the outside line for him. He's battling not for the lead right now. However, he is battling for P3 on the racetrack as they race back through turns 1 and 2. Cinnamon has been loving that outside line, Jordan. It's been working well for him. We've seen the runs he's able to get off of the corner. We've seen him do the run off the outside into the crossover move to the driver in front of him. Seems to be working the best out of anybody on the racetrack right now, that outside line for the 3.
And I do feel in the long run it's going to be probably the line of choice, because I've seen so many races here at Kansas that when you run the outside line, you have so much speed coming off of it, and your truck can just stick up there for, I believe, however long you want. So as long as you have the speed and as long as you keep your truck as straight as possible, you can have the most amount of speed coming off of that corner and just run up the order and really stay where you are, because we've seen the 3. He's been in P1 and P2. I don't think he's really dropped in the past few laps, or even when we were finishing up stage number 2. So the outside line right now definitely feels like the lane of choice, but you never know what that inside line has to offer.
And we've seen before here at Kansas specifically, it be such an outside line dominant track, and to the point where the inside line here, it's a little bit worse on the tires than that outside line would be. Normally it's the complete opposite. But you can see right as Lothian went to the inside, bye-bye goes Chris Cinnamon. A great run to the outside, and the 3 goes to the front. Cinnamon looking for his first win of the season Somebody who's looking for win number 2 is Steven Thomas right behind him as he runs the outside line. They stack up, almost go 3 wide as it looks like shades of Daytona from 1 week ago through the middle of the pack right now, Jordan. Everybody on fresh tires. This is the best their trucks are going to be throughout this run, but we got to start thinking about that fuel window. We're expecting a couple drivers to come into the pit lane soon as Michael McKinnon gets loose on the front straightaway. Caution flag is going to fly.
And I do believe from our caution that just came out, the 13 made some contact. Not too sure who he made contact with, but we're going to take a look at the replay to see what happened. It might have been the 16 of, I believe, Joey Doucette. So you can see the 13 of Michael McKinnon on the inside and Doucette on the outside. Coming out of turn 4, and they make contact right there. And you can see the 13 goes a little bit into the grass, but doesn't seem like too much damage for the both of them, but not what they wanted, because that's going to slow everybody down and bring that yellow flag back out and push them all together for a nice green restart.
So here's the interesting part of this to me, Jordan. Where we're at now, 59 laps left in this race. We can maybe expect to go green with about 55 to go. That number 55 sounds familiar. That is the top end of the fuel window. The fuel window is about 50 to 55 laps. So if they were to pit here, they would need to save just a little bit of fuel, and then they would be good to the end. The problem is to save that fuel and to hopefully have enough to make it all the way to the end. The other problem, of course, is tires. So will we see any drivers like to pit now? No, we do not. So it looks like the popular opinion from the drivers are going to be pit under green during this stage and cut the stage in half. I'm a little bit surprised to see nobody really pit at the front. Joey Doucette is pitting. He has damage, though, along with Michael McKinnon, but Peacock, Zimmerman stays out. Bradley comes in, and more as well. A solid amount of drivers working their way into the pit lane. Very interesting to see here, Jordan. Looks like we're going to have a couple of different strategies now on the racetrack with a couple of those drivers who are either thinking there might be another caution down the line or are going to try and stretch it all the way to the end on fuel.
And the thing is, we've only seen a few cautions tonight, so who's to say there is even going to be another caution? So, Josh, we may be seeing some green flag pit stops coming up here in the next coming laps, so I'm looking forward to see who is going to be that first driver to go down in the pit lane and what it's going to potentially change on this track, because we know if you have a green flag pit stop, anything can happen. You could even go a lap down, so you got to be careful and make it quick, because like I said, you don't want to be going down going a lap down, especially this far into a race.
And of course, we know that it's one thing to try and make it all the way to the end on fuel. It's a completely different thing to try and stretch the tires all the way to the end. A little bit more of a challenge at Atlanta, a little bit more of a challenge at Texas, a little bit more of a challenge at Chicago. It's still a challenge here at Kansas to try and take fresh tires that they are just now putting on and try and get them all the way to the checkered flag, which looking like is going to be about a 55 lap stint under green, which also for those drivers is going to help them out in the fuel saving area. If the fuel window truly is about 50 to 55 laps, they would only need to save, and with the caution, maybe another lap or two just to really be safe, so they can try and stretch that fuel. That's going to be a little bit easier than trying to stretch the tires. But if they can stretch those tires and that fuel, we've seen drivers try and do that before, Jordan, and it hasn't worked out. They just have not been able to keep up the speed. I think here at Kansas, they might have a little bit of a better shot than at, say, Atlanta or Chicago, where we try to see that work.
It's going to be really interesting because a lot of these drivers can pull anything out of their sleeves, and so I guess we have to wait, and time will tell when we go back to racing, because it's very unexpected here in NASRA Triple M Pull and Truck Series. anything could happen at any moment. And so you kind of got to keep your eyes open because things can happen so quickly, you don't even know.
And of course, with this being the elimination race in the Sweet 16 round of the playoffs, nobody is safe from elimination. Everybody in the Sweet 16 can still be eliminated. We'll remind you of what the points looked like when we entered this race tonight. Stephen Thomas sat on the top. Devin Painter, Taylor Peacock, Robbie Richards, Joey Doucette, Brady LaBeouf, Jose Luis Rivera. And on the bubble was Logan Quinn. Keith Bradley sat 2 below. Dana Shepard, Brandon Bullock sat about 15 below. Cody Knott sat about 17 below. 19 below is Chris Cinnamon, with Meza, Zimmerman, and McKinnon rounding out the drivers that are on the outside looking in terms of that cut line. Remember, it is not win and you're into the next round. It is all based on points. So let's see what is going to happen as we go back to racing. 55 laps to work out as they race back down the back straightaway. Chris Cinnamon leads the way. Blake Lothian in second. How about Adam Newbert? The crossover move. Tries to work his way down to the inside, side by side with Blake Lothian as they work their way off turn 4. Very close together as they run off the corner. Chris Cinnamon trying to defend. Jordan, right now, if you're Stephen Thomas, what do? You see 2 drivers side by side in front of you. You see the lead in front of you. You know you might have one of the fastest trucks on the racetrack. He just needs to buy his time right now for P4.
And you know, I definitely feel like he's waiting for that door to open because you can see he's switching it between both inside and outside lines. So whatever door opens, he's gonna take it, and he's just waiting for that moment right now because he's really trying to work his way back up into that top part of the pack to fight for that lead. But you can see behind Stephen Thomas right now is the 48 of Robbie Richards. So the 23's got a lot of pressure because he's got a lot of fast guys behind him and even in front of him. So he's got a lot of work to do if you want to make his way up to that top spot.
A lot of work to do, and admittedly, not a lot of time to do it, because we have 53 laps to go. That lap counter is going to continue to drop further and further and further until we're at 10 to go, 5 to go, 1 to go, and the checkered flag falls tonight here from the Kansas Speedway. Side by side for P2 as Newbert tries to get back into the mix. We have seen him so far tonight be so strong, and I don't want to say weirdly strong, but we haven't seen much of him this season, and the races we haven't seen him run like this. So a great run tonight from Adam Newbert. And honestly, Jordan, for a driver not competing in the playoffs here part-time, if he can walk away with the top 2, that's stellar. If he can walk away with the win, that's unbelievable. But if he can walk away with the top 5, I feel like it's a great day, and he can walk away with his head high.
And he's been peeking his nose into P number 1 a whole bunch tonight, so he's definitely got to feel really good about himself because you don't really see that because he's just been running that inside line so consistently, and you can see he's pulling away into P number 1 right now, so he's definitely working the wheels off of that sixth machine. And Josh, he's just got to fight for 50 more laps and he can walk away with his first victory.
He goes side by side once again to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to work his way around Chris Cinnamon. Can he do it? He's got help on that inside line. Not that this is a super speedway where a draft is going to help you too much. Side by side now for second as Blake Lothian enters the story. Chris Cinnamon still holds the lead, still holding strong in the outside line. Of course, everybody running close together as we still wait on the tires to start to wear their way in. We still have a pit stop that is looming. Expecting drivers to pit with around 35, 30 to go if they're going by what they have done in the past. So we can expect to see some green flag pit stops on the horizon here in about 20 laps. But for now, everybody trying to race for the race lead as everybody runs close together here at Kansas. Basically the entire field separated by 3 seconds on the racetrack. Chris Cinnamon leads the way. Blake Lothian now trying to fight from second, and what a fight Lothian is putting up here from P2. Right on that back bumper of the 3. Lothian, of course, we've seen him dominate our intermediates before, most notably first race of the season when we went racing from virtual Texas. He was insanely dominant there, led most of that race, and then ended up losing out to Robbie Richards after needing to pit with about 5 laps to go. So Lothian's going to look for race win number 1. Chris Cinnamon's going to look for race win number 1. Adam Newbert's going to look for race win number 1. Robbie Richards down to the inside looking for race win number 3, which would be his 3rd of the season, 3rd on an intermediate, and 1st since Kentucky on July 30th of this year. We talk about Robbie Richards a lot. He's always up front, Jordan. We've talked about how hungry he is for another win, especially now here in the playoffs. And being above that cut line, he wants to end this round of the playoffs off in the bang.
And he's peeking his nose up into the top part of the pack for the first time tonight, so he's just got to keep it very smooth and steady and just really stay calm this whole next 46 laps to go. Because if he stays consistent and running up with these guys, he can keep that 48 machine down to the bottom and walk away with what may possibly be. I'm not trying to jinx him because anything can happen here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, but he could possibly put himself into P number 1. So he's just got to keep it very consistent and keep it on his A game because that 48 machine is looking really, really quick on that bottom line.
10 unique winners this season. And Chris Cinnamon is trying to make that 11 in 17 rounds. Still side by side, Richards and Lothian. Reminds me of round number 1 again. It was Richards and Lothian really that went battling towards the end of that race. Great to see both of them up here at the front. Newbert and LaBeouf on that second row of side by side, battling for 4th. Newbert on the outside line. Then now he's going to go side by side with Richards for P3 on the racetrack. And Lothian with another move down to the inside. Starting to get a little bit more aggressive here at the front. As Lothian goes back to the lead and way down to the apron for Taylor Peacock back here trying to make a move. He's going to peek that nose to the inside of Bradley, and getting loose in the middle of the pack goes Thomas. Did he make contact with anybody? I don't believe he did. They save it. What a save and what a moment there, Jordan, for one of the most dominant trucks of the race. It looked like it could have been all over for Stephen Thomas right there in that moment. He hits the wall coming off of turn number 2. That's what set up everybody moving out of the way. Contact with the 97. And did anybody else make contact with him? No, they don't. He saves it. Not once, but twice, maybe 3 times as he exits turn 4.
And that's really an eye-opener because he's been running so consistently this whole entire night. And for that to happen, you could be really thrown off with that. So a great save for the 23 of Stephen Thomas. And you can just see he's trying to keep it straight off of that wall. But you can just see how much spots you lose when you make such a little mistake like that. And you can see he just completely turns that wheel so fast, and he keeps the 23 machine on all 4 tires and still going as fast as possible on the track. So a great save for the 23 of Stephen Thomas.
He falls into now P12. So he goes side by side with Kyle Hess. Speaking of side by side, let's go back up to the battle at the front. Chris Cinnamon's in the lead. Robbie Richards, who has been trying to get by him now for just a couple of laps, goes back to the inside. Newbert tries to make it a 3-wide moment. 4-horse battle at the front. As here comes Blake Lothian, a little bit of a loose moment for him off turn 4. Gets a little bit squirrely, but he is able to hold on. Back through 1 and 2. 4 drivers up here at the front, separated by about half a second, and here comes more drivers starting to join the fray as Joey Doucette makes a move to the inside of Brady LaBeouf, and into the wall goes Robbie Richards. The 48 taps the wall. I believe he was trying to run the outside line, and just the slightest tap to the wall for the 48 gonna set him back a good bit. Jordan, let's take a look at this replay. We talk about Kansas being an outside line dominant track. You can fly a little bit too close to the sun, and it looks like that's what happened to the 48.
And it just seems like a big magnet on that turn 2 wall, so you kind of got to be really careful on how you really approach it, because we just saw from the 48 just completely slid a little too much up to that outside line and into the wall he went, which we saw from Stephen Thomas. It put him back to at least 13th, and so this is gonna drop Robbie Richards back a little bit, but hopefully he can fight back and really make up the spots he lost.
Robbie Richards has been one of the fastest trucks of the season, so we'll see if he can climb his way back up. Expecting him to. If anybody can climb their way back up, especially on intermediate, it is the driver who has won both of his races this season on an intermediate racetrack. Still side by side, McKinnon going to the inside of, I believe that is Joey Doucette. Yes, it is. Doucette now going to go side by side with Keith Bradley. And up and back to the back straightaway. 35 laps to go. And it is Chris Cinnamon who is running away at the front right now. Looking for race win number 1. It would be storybook if he can. We've spoken to him a couple of times in the post-race when he has been in the top 3 finishing positions, and every time has talked about wanting to win and wanting to be in victory lane. It would be great if he could do it tonight, but like we keep mentioning, anything can happen. We still have green flag pit stops on the horizon, still have the possibilities for more yellow flags, still have the possibilities for more cautions as 2 drivers work their way to the pit lane. Looks like Jeffrey Sickles and Robbie Richards. Not sure if those are planned pit stops. Here comes Brandon Bullock down into the pit lane as well. Brady LaBeouf is in. Now, these are scheduled pit stops, so it looks like we're going to see a couple of drivers begin those green flag stops here and now. We'll go back up to the battle at the front with Chris Cinnamon leading the way. Jordan, now Cinnamon needs to make sure he's not caught off guard by the green flag pit stops, but he needs to make sure he doesn't pit too early, allowing other drivers to perform a perfect undercut on him. A couple more drivers going to work their way in. Rivera and Klinkart. McKinnon works his way to the inside of Newberg, but as I was saying, Jordan, Cinnamon needs to make sure he comes in soon. He cannot come in too late, but he also can't come in too early. He needs to make this pit stop perfect.
And I do feel like there's going to be a few drivers out there on the track who are going to try and extend their run a little bit. But we say this every single race. If you're going to do it, you got to be careful that you don't make yourself run out of time, because 33 laps to go. And you can see, like you just said, dropping down into pit lane. So a lot more drivers, Blake Lothian and Newbert behind. So a lot of these drivers are going to refill their trucks, get some new tires, and send their trucks back out onto the racetrack. But as I was saying, you can't make your pit stops too late, because you're going to run out of time, and then you're going to be all the way back in the pack and have no time to fight your way back up to the top.
Expecting this to be the last pit stop that these drivers will make tonight. Of course, if we get a yellow flag, that is going to change things. But if we go green to the end, this will be the last time these drivers hit the pit lane. Stephen Thomas is in. There's Chris Cinnamon going to exit. He exits comfortably in front of Stephen Thomas. Adam Newbert's going to be a barrier between himself and the 23. So for the drivers who have pitted under this run, it looks like timing it a little bit better was Brady LaBeouf. LaBeouf is going to go by and get the provisional race lead. Robbie Richards also worked his way around Chris Cinnamon. So Cinnamon is going to be provisionally 3rd. With a bit of time to make up, but with 3 laps fresher tires than LaBeouf and Richards, that is not a ton of laps fresher on the tires, but any advantage Chris Cinnamon can get, Jordan, I'm thinking he's going to want and he's going to need if he wants to make up that time. But the yellow flag comes out in the middle, a green flag stops, and this is going to change everything as the 48er Robbie Richards is around, and I believe turn 1.
Very interesting to see, because we were just talking about Robbie Richards in the 48 just a few minutes ago on how well he was running, but an unfortunate break for him. We're going to take a look at the replay to exactly what happened to that 48 machine. You can see he is fighting with the 94 of Eric Zimmerman, and you can see a little tap to that rear and into the outside wall he goes. An unfortunate break for that 48 machine of Robbie Richards, which hopefully is not a lot of damage on that 48 machine, but it will definitely impact the speed on his truck.
And it looks like they met in the middle there too. Not sure if we can, well, we're not going to put blame on anybody here in the broadcast booth, but not sure any blame can be put on by the NASRA admins as well off of that one. But what that does do is bring out a yellow flag. Now, McKinnon, Doucette, Peacock, Hess, Knott, Hagan, Shepard, the two Williams brothers, Zimmerman, Gregory, and Meza all still need to pit. Keith Bradley, I believe, was the last driver to come into the pit lane there. So LaBeouf is going to get his lap back. This creates a very interesting system of events, because now, as a couple of drivers stay out, most notably the drivers who pitted under that green flag stop, I believe will be able to earn waiver rounds, because everybody that was on the racetrack who was on the lead lap came into the pit lane, except for the drivers that were one lap down. And then Brady LaBeouf went and took his free pass, so he is back on the lead lap. He'll be starting tail end of the longest line. But where we currently are, I believe Bradley, Cinnamon, Newbert, Thomas, Rivera, Clinkart, Richards, Sickles, Bullock, Lothian, or ending up Bullock. I believe Lothian and Quinn might also be able to grab waiver rounds, but all the drivers that I just listed should be good for waiver rounds. But this is going to be very interesting, Jordan, because there's two scenarios that are going to happen here. A, they end up not getting what waved around the pace truck, and they end up getting trapped a lap down. Or B, they do take the waiver round, and they have to fight from the tail end of the field on slightly more worn tires than the drivers who are now at the front. If this is not one of the more interesting scenarios that we have seen all season long, and one of the most interesting scenarios that you could have for an elimination race in a playoff, I don't know what is.
It's going to be really interesting, because fighting from the back of the field with 27 to go, probably about 24, I want to say, or 25, till we go back green, it's definitely going to be very hard, because you got a lot of drivers with all fresh tires, and you don't even have a lot of time. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out for every single driver when we go back racing, but only time will tell. And I'm really looking forward to see what everyone's going to do and how everyone is going to react to this.
That reaction is just going to be so interesting to see how this one is going to play out. Because, okay, so the lights are going to come out on the pace track, I believe, this time. Yes, they are. Bradley's getting waved, and yes, everybody will get a wave around. So they will all be at the tail end of this field. I believe Bradley will be 14th, and everybody else will be back from there. So they're going to have to fight from outside the top 10, a couple of them outside the top 15, a couple of them outside the top 20 to try and get back to the front and race where they previously were. Michael McKinnon will lead the field to green, Kyle Hess to his outside, and we're going to go racing for 25 more laps and see how this one is going to end. Doucette will actually start on the outside. Hess is going to start to the inside of row 2. McKinnon will still be the control truck on the inside line. Well then, this just got a lot more interesting. Make sure that you stay tuned here to Racecraft TV, because we have an epic battle on our hands. Drivers on fresh tires at the front, slightly older tires at the back, but faster race trucks. Let's see what happens in 25 laps. Green flag is back in the air, and Michael McKinnon is going to run away with the current lead. Question is, how long is he going to hold on to it? As here comes Kyle Hess. Doucette falls to third. Hess is going to look for the lead. Winner from Michigan and Bristol Dirt earlier this season. He's going to have a challenge from Joey Doucette as Doucette makes a move to the inside. The 16 is looking great out here, Jordan. We've seen that before from Joey Doucette, looking to try and make another great run here tonight at Kansas, but walk away with win number 1. He goes side by side and straight up for the race lead.
And if I do believe we were talking about Michael McKinnon earlier on in this race, he was about 60 points back, and so I believe, I forget completely what we were saying, but he was in some sort of situation where if he wants to advance, he has to be up in that top part of the pack. And you can see he's up there right now, P4, but unfortunately he's getting passed and dropping back a little bit. But as you were saying, Joey Doucette is on fire right now, really running the wheels off that 16 machine, trying to hold up P number 1, but he's got a lot of fierce competitors like the 86 and like the 81 behind him that are looking hungry for that lead.
About 20 points below the cut line to try and make it into the next round of the playoffs. It would not be win and he's in for Michael McKinnon, but it would be win and graciously helped for Michael McKinnon, as everything in the playoffs for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series is based off of points. It is not based off of wins. The only thing that wins go towards are playoff points, which will go towards bonus points at the beginning of the playoffs. Of course, we're going into a completely another round of the playoffs. Some playoff points will be applied then, but it is not win and you can lock yourself in, or else Painter will be locked into the next round. He is actually one of the drivers that is trying to stay above that cut line. He sits currently in second. 21 to go. Battle for second on the racetrack is between Hess and Peacock. But let's go back, check in with the drivers closer to the back who got the wave around, who have been up front all night long, pitted under the green flag stops. They are a bit off the pace. You can see them. A little bit of a gap has developed between the front drivers and them now, as Newbern and Cinnamon sit 12th and 13th. Drivers closer to the front, now starting to mix it up a little bit more. 20 to go at the line. Joey Doucette leads the way. Kyle Hess and Taylor Peacock sit side by side for P2. And Michael McKinnon trying to get back into the mix. Where did Stephen Gregory come from? How about the 61? Use this opportunity to work his way up into the top 5 after starting in P12. Great night for the 61. He's another one of those drivers we don't talk about much, if at all, here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Great to be talking about him with 19 to go. Doucette's doing a great job on the defense here, Jordan, but Kyle Hess is one of those drivers who at the end of the race, he knows how to get it done, and he's trying to do it here. He did it at Bristol Dirt and at the Michigan International Speedway earlier this season, and he's looking to try and do it again. He has not won since early August.
Just trying to keep that 86 machine down on the inside line, because that seems where a lot of the power is coming from this track as of right now. So he's fighting with the 81, he's fighting with the 16. Whatever door opens, Josh, he's gonna take it, but he's just gotta wait for that perfect time, because he doesn't want to go a little too early and then mess himself up. But you can see he's trying to make it into the inside line, but as you mentioned before, the 16 is doing a great job at defending off both the 81 and the 86, so he's just gotta hold up for the next 18 laps, and he can walk away into himself into the winner's circle.
I think that's all any of these drivers want to do here at the front. Joey Doucette winless. Taylor Peacock, 1 win this season at Martinsville. Kyle Hess, win at Michigan, win at Bristol Dirt. Michael McKinnon, winless this season. Brady LaBeouf, how about the run from the 9? He's back up into the mix after getting the lucky dog under that last caution. It'll be 16 to go at the line. LaBeouf won at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, looking to win again on another intermediate. McKinnon gets aggressive, goes down to the inside to try and protect that spot from LaBeouf, and it does work. Doucette still leads. Kyle Hess going to try and make something happen for that lead, but now he's going to have a bit of a challenge from Taylor Peacock now as they work their way into turns number 1 and 2. Peacock trying to protect that spot. He cannot do it. Now goes down to the inside on Kyle Hess, looking for that spot again. And another yellow flag is going to come onto the speedways. It looks like Chris Cinnamon's involved in this one. Michael McKinnon involved as well. Jacob Klinkart in the 42, winner from 1 week ago at Daytona, is involved as well. And we'll take a look at the replay here, Jordan. A big one just stacked up on the racetrack. It looks like this one started up the road with Michael McKinnon, and yes, it did.
And you can just see he slides up into, I believe,
Stephen Thomas is in it.
A whole lot of drivers that we were watching in the front of the pack, Josh, are involved in that one. So that's going to definitely upset a lot of drivers. You can see the 13 trying to run that bottom line, and then the 61 not trying to blame anybody, but I believe they went 3 wide, and then the 61 I think was a little unclear of who was what and who was where, so that unfortunately turned the 13. You can see everybody just having nowhere to go. An unfortunate break, especially for the 23 of Stephen Thomas, so that's going to possibly end the night for him.
I was on board with Stephen Gregory there for a moment. We'll go on board with Stephen Thomas here in just a moment. Here's the on board with the number 23. It was a hard hit. Luckily, it's only in the sim. And there's the 13. Nowhere for him to go. You can see him trying to correct down to the inside. And I believe the way that worked out, we'll go on board here with Chris Cinnamon. There's the contact with Stephen Gregory. And now we go on board with Chris Cinnamon. The 13 just gets moved right up into his line. And a great night for Chris Cinnamon, unfortunately, is going to end with a bit of a nightmare. And now, this sets up another exciting turn of events, as it doesn't look like anybody's really elected to come into the pit lane. So Doucette, Hess, Peacock, LaBeouf, and Gregory are now the top 5. Brady LaBeouf up here at the front, Jordan, I think has the best opportunity to walk away with this win. He won at Las Vegas, so out of the drivers up here at the front, he has the best experience at an intermediate. He has a win at an intermediate track this season, but I think Joey Doucette, out of anybody in this field, is going to be the most aggressive when trying to protect this win, because he is currently winless this season.
You know, definitely, it's going to be something crazy to happen to end this race, because we've got a lot of guys that are up in the front right now that want this win. And yes, everybody else wants to win this race, but you got Joey Doucette in the 16, you got Kyle Hess in the 86, you got Taylor Peacock in the 81, and you got Brady LaBeouf in the 9. So a lot of very good competitors in front. So if the 9 really wants this win, he's gonna have to fight through this tough pack and try and make it out P1. And we don't have a lot of time left. We got 13 to go, probably going back green at about 10 or 11 laps to go. So not a lot of time, but sure can be enough time for anything to open up.
I believe it'll be with 11 to go, as I believe we're gonna grab that 1 to go signal this time by. Well, this race is starting to shape up a little bit more like it was at the Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago. We saw overtime there. We are not quite at the overtime yet. Definitely would not be surprised if we go into overtime, but it is something that we have. We'll have 2 attempts, at overtime tonight if we do need it. But we'll see if we end up needing it at all as we get set and ready to go back under the green flag. Joey Doucette leads, Kyle Hess in second, Taylor Peacock, Brady LaBeouf, Cody Knott. Your current top 5 on the racetrack. And we'll see who is going to end up walking away with this race win. Could end up being the biggest win of the season and the only win of the season for Joey Doucette so far. Could end up being one of the bigger ones for Kyle Hess. He hasn't won since Bristol Dirt. Taylor Peacock trying to win a second race on the season. Same thing with Brady LaBeouf. He won his first ever NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series race of his career at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on September 24th. He's looking to do that again tonight and return his first ever career win to a season with 2 career wins to his name. Field ready to go back green. Joey Doucette in control of the field. Who is going to walk away with the race win? Doucette's able to walk away with a great jump at the front. Side by side for second. As Peacock takes a peek to the inside. Hess runs the outside line. Here comes Brady LaBeouf. What's the 9 going to be able to do? He tries to find a hole up the middle. Can't do it. He's going to have to go down to the inside as Taylor Peacock makes a run for the race lead. He goes down to the inside on Joey Doucette. And the battle for the race lead is on. Can Peacock take over the race lead? He's still side by side with Doucette as they race back to turn 1. Jordan Doucette on the outside, Peacock on the inside. Look at how loose the 86 gets down there as Brady LaBeouf makes a move to the inside. 3 wide for second.
A nice move for the 9, and the caution flag comes back out. This is going to change a lot. You can see the 97 of Jose Luis Rivera involved. Keith Bradley also in the 18 involved. So, Josh, this is going to change everything up. We've got 10 to go. This is going to open a lot of doors. You can just see all the contact made in the back. Tons of drivers just turned around and into the wall. It's just one of those moments where it's so frustrating for a lot of drivers. You can see the 94 of Eric Zimmerman get a little loose. I believe made a little contact with Raul Meza, and you can just see everybody else get shot into that outside wall of turn 2.
So we're back under the yellow flag. For now, what is, I believe, the 4th time tonight for an incident. 5th time total, including the stage break. I believe 6th for incident, or 6 total. 5 for incident, plus 1 for the stage break at stage number 2, since technically an incident caution was the stage 1 break. Leads us to 6 total yellow flags so far tonight. 8 to go as they come across the line. Nobody electing to come into the pit lane here at the front. Just a couple of drivers towards the back and drivers with damage. So we'll take a short break here on Racecraft TV. But you better not go anywhere. We're under the yellow flag. You won't miss a minute of the green flag action when we return here on Racecraft TV. We're going racing with about 6 laps to go here at Virtual Kansas. What more could you want? Stay with us.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
We are in for an exciting finish here from virtual Kansas. We welcome you back into the Racecraft TV NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the elimination race of the Sweet 16 round of the playoffs. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth. Alongside me is Jordan Hicks. We are ready for a restart with 5 laps to go. And a caution from here, will be going into overtime. Joey Doucette leads the way. He chooses the outside line for this restart. Kyle Hess on the inside, Brady LaBeouf, Taylor Peacock, Stephen Gregory, the top 5. Doucette and Gregory looking for win number 1. Peacock and LaBeouf looking for win number 2. Hess looking for win number 3 of the season. And Barney the Flagman waves the green flag once again. And we go back to racing. Only 5 laps to settle it. Doucette on the outside line. Here comes the challenge from Hess, down to the inside. Looking for the race lead is the number 86. And he's able to get it. Doucette looks for the crossover. Not enough of a run. He goes for it again in 2. Through turn 3, here comes Taylor Peacock trying to make it work up the middle. Brady LaBeouf down to the inside of the 81. Side by side for the lead. Side by side for third. Adam Newbert's back into the conversation. He worked his way all the way from the back to the front, and he's now fighting for the race win once again. Side by side for the race lead as they go back through 1 and 2. A great run down on the inside for Joey Doucette. Hess trying to make something happen on the outside. What's Brady LaBeouf gonna do? He tries to make a peek to the middle line. Can't do it. Doucette gonna hold strong on the inside. That 16 does not look to be working as well as it does on the outside line. On the inside line, 3 wide for a moment as LaBeouf goes into the middle line. Still side by side for the lead as we go to 3 to go. Racing back through 1 and 2. Here comes Brady LaBeouf up the middle. Looks like we have a 3 wide moment at the front. Battle for the lead. Doucette on the bottom. LaBeouf in the middle. Hess on the outside. They race 3 wide. Back to turns 3 and 4. 2 to go at the line. This time by here from virtual Kansas. Doucette gets loose. He goes all the way down to the apron. Able to save it for a moment, but the 2 lap to go signal is out, and Doucette's gonna fall a little bit further than I think he was looking to do. LaBeouf's gonna go to the lead, trying to walk away with his 2nd ever NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series win. He got his 1st ever at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway a couple of months ago on September 24th. He's looking for win number 2 of the season and career here tonight. Off of turn number 4. The white flag is in the air. It's 1 to go here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series from Kansas. Trying to win for the first time since Las Vegas is LaBeouf. But the challenge comes in to the outside. Adam Newbert trying to go for his 1st career race win. They are side by side down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Still side by side. The race to the checkered. LaBeouf can't do anything. And at the line, Adam Newbert, 1st career win of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. What a way to finish it, and what a win for the 6 of Adam Newbert. And we have a first-time winner in the 6. What a run all night long, Jordan. We've been talking about him since the start. And a friendly tap there from Brady LaBeouf. What a win for the 6.
He was peeking his nose in the lead from that start of the drop of the green flag from the start of tonight, and he walked away with his 1st win tonight. A great way to really fight for that lead against the 9 of Brady LaBeouf. a huge congrats to him because he started in 18th, Josh, and he completely finished this race in P1. So a great night for Adam Newbert.
What a way to do it. The 6 of Adam Newbert is your race winner here from virtual Kansas. And as he burns it down, we take a look at your full finishing results. It's Adam Newbert who walks away with the win. Brady LaBeouf in second. Kyle Hess, Joey Doucette, Mikey Williams, the top 5. Taylor Peacock, Stephen Gregory, Blake Lothian, Cody Knott, Dane Hagen, your top 10. And back from there, Jeffrey Sickles will finish 11th. Dana Shepard, Raul Meza, Logan Quinn, Steve Williams, the top 15. With Jacob Klinkart, Robbie Richards, Keith Bradley, Eric Zimmerman, Jose Luis Rivera, the top 20. And rounding out the field is Chris Cinnamon, Brandon Bullock, Stephen Thomas, Michael McKinnon, and Devin Painter, the 25 drivers. Adam Newbert continues to burn it down on the front straightaway, and let's not wait any further. Let's bring him up into the commentary box. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first career win in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. I know this one has got to feel good.
Oh, yes, sir. First win. You're right about that. Man, it felt good. I was really nervous there, man. Really nervous right there at the end. I thought we were about to have a wreck, but saved it and kept it going.
Just talk about what it feels to get that first win, because it is just so elusive for so many drivers. We've heard the emotion from Brady LaBeouf. He's been working so long for it. He got his first win in NASRA at Las Vegas earlier this year. What does it feel just to get that first win and have it under your belt and really reach the top step in with such an eclectic group of drivers in this series?
Yeah, it feels awesome. You just hit on it right there. The group of drivers, these guys are so tough to race against. I mean, they are probably some of the best I've raced with. I mean, it's hard to just even win a stage win with these guys, you know what I mean? Because we saw that in stage 1. It's just the competition here makes it better.
Well, going into the Nashville Super Speedway in 1 week's time, first of all, will we see you at Nashville? If not, when's the next time we're going to see you racing on the track? And can you turn one win into 2?
You will see me at Nashville, and I certainly hope so.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Racecraft TV. Adam, congratulations on your first career NASRA race win here from virtual Kansas.
Thank you. Give a shout out to Brady and Michael and everybody at NASRA and my teammate Chris Cinnamon right there.
Well, thank you very much once again for joining us, and congratulations once more. That is Adam Newbert in the 6, your race winner tonight here of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series from Kansas. We move on to second place finisher Brady LaBeouf. He joins us here in the broadcast booth now. Brady, you were so close there at the end, leading on the white flag. You looked like you had the truck to beat, and then Adam came in and stole it right on that last lap. What are the emotions you're feeling right now?
Just disappointing. I think I lost this race twice tonight because after the pit stop cycle, I knew I was like at least 5 seconds ahead of Chris Cinnamon, and I really don't think they would have caught me. And then Adam had tires right there, so it's disappointing, but I'll just have to take it and move on to next week.
And speaking of taking it and moving on to next week, obviously you're one of the drivers that are in the playoffs. With this finish, undoubtedly you're going to be above the cut line and go racing in the Elite 8. And Nashville Super Speedway, Richmond on the horizon. Where's your confidence level at for both of those tracks? And do you think you can put together another consistent round of the playoffs and be one of the drivers fighting for the championship at Charlotte?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit of a secret. Not Richmond, but I've been practicing Nashville all week. So hopefully I'll have a good showing next week and get a lot more practice in for it. I know the intensity is going to pick up because it's a winning you're in situation. So it's going to be fun.
And of course, looking forward to that championship. If you can make it to the championship thinking Charlotte Motor Speedway for you will be a little bit more of your confident tracks with it being an intermediate. So if you get to that point, do you think you can get that championship?
Oh, yeah. I think anybody that gets there deserves to be there and has an opportunity to win it. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Brady, congratulations on your second place finish here from Kansas, and we'll see how all that practice is working for you when we go to Nashville Super Speedway in 1 week's time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Racecraft. Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Brady LaBeouf. Second place finish for him. We go now to our third place finisher, Kyle Hess in the 86, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Kyle, it looked like a bit of an up and down race for you. Talk about it from your perspective in the number 86 tonight.
Man, since I'm not racing for any points, I was trying to let the playoff guys for the first two stages get the points that they were going to get, and me just kind of do my thing and come back up through the field and try to get back to the front for the third stage. So just trying to not interfere with stage points for the most part, trying to give the playoff drivers their respect that they need.
And of course, going through that third stage, you found yourself up towards the front, more so because of that caution that came out during the green flag stops. But were you confident with the speed in the number 86 all night, or were you trying to fight for something there through the beginning of stage 1 and 2 as you were letting the drivers race for points?
No, I pretty much knew what I had. We got lucky that the caution came out when everyone pitted and they were stuck a lap down. So that was to the racing guides that helped us out there. But, that happens, and I'll sure take it. So I'm glad that happened, and it gave me the track position to get up there and fight for the win. I just didn't have enough tires after I was racing Taylor and Joey for the lead after that restart. I just kind of burned my stuff up, and lucky I came out with third.
Nashville Super Speedway in 1 week's time. Where's your confidence level at for that track that's still fairly new to the iRacing service and only being added back in June?
I'm not really sure. I've run it a little bit, but I haven't run it with these guys, so I'm not sure how I stack up compared to these guys in the league. So it'll all be when we get there next Friday, we'll kind of see how we stack. Hopefully I can end up getting a podium or a win next week. I'd love to have a win in my home state. I got one at Bristol Dirt. And if I could take Nashville, that'd be I think that'd be pretty cool.
We'll see if you can do it in 1 week's time. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us here on the broadcast booth. Congratulations on your third place finish tonight.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Great to hear once again from the number 86 of Kyle Hess. And that does it for our coverage here on Racecraft TV tonight of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. We continue with the playoffs in 1 week's time when we go racing in the first race of the Elite 8 round of the playoffs. You do not want to miss that one from the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. But with that does it for our live coverage tonight here on Racecraft TV. And what a night of coverage it was. For Brady LaBeouf at the North American Sim Racing Association, for Josh Edmondson at Racecraft TV. Our cameras tonight were provided by Istvan Balo at TrackCams22.com. And for my colleague in the booth, Jordan Hicks, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you so much for tuning into live coverage of the Sunflower 200 from the virtual Kansas Speedway. And we hope to see you in 1 week's time from virtual Nashville as the Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs enters the Elite 8.